Well, a very warm welcome to another vlog. This time around, it's all about photographing heather. I'm here in a raised bog, a rare habitat in County Wicklow. And as you can see, I'm surrounded by the blooming heather. It's mid-August. Yesterday, I spent the day in very poor hazy light here and up on the Sally Gap in the Highlands, where the heather is also in bloom. You can see, I hope, maybe not so much behind me here, but where I'm looking now, there's a thick mist. And that may enhance our chances of getting an atmospheric abstract image, maybe of the birch and a few Scots pine behind me here, and with the heather in the foreground. And the heather is going to be the prominent theme and the prominent focus for my photography in this vlog. Now, earlier in the week, and this week has been a week of bright, hazy weather, not conducive to photography at all. But I joined Robert Thompson, a superlative natural history photographer from County Down. If you're not familiar with Robert's work, I'll leave a link to his website below. Go there and browse and read to your heart's content. You won't be disappointed. Robert introduced me to the Mourne Mountains earlier in the week. The weather just wasn't conducive to good photography. That bright, hazy weather. And yesterday here on the Sally Gap, I came out again and struggled with my photography. I am praying that this morning with this little bit of mist, and it may break up quickly. I think I have 3 or 4 hours. But it's just so difficult to pull an atmospheric shot out of the bag with direct sunlight on a hazy day. But nonetheless, that's what we're going to try to do today. Now, here in Ireland, we have 3 species of heather. We have ling, and ling itself, the English name, is an Old Norse name. But the Latin for the common heather here in Ireland is Calunus vulgaris. Vulgaris, common, and indeed it is throughout Europe. And here in Ireland, it dominates the heathland, the raised bogs, the upland heaths, and is a wonderful plant when it flowers for bees, moths. It provides an incredibly rich source of nectar at this time of the year. The second species we have is bell heather, a very beautiful heather, which grows in drier places on the bog, not so much here on the raised bog that I'm in at the moment. Wow, I'm looking over here and the colour is roaring at me. Well, how to capture that? This woodland scene is chaotic. How can I come out of here with an image? But there's a richness about the light that has been absent throughout the past few weeks here really in Ireland, with that bright hazy sunshine. Our third species is Erica tetralix, and that's the cross-leaved heath, and I came across that here yesterday. If I can't find a sample today to photograph, I'll put that image up there. It's a beautiful dainty heather. So they're the 3 species, but today's vlog is about capturing the heather within a landscape image, more than macro images or close-up images of the heather. And there's beautiful colours and textures of the heather intertwined with lichens and grasses here in the bog. So when I put that into my mind, as I've just done, I may focus on a shot like that, an even more abstract shot. But how do we make sense of this woodland here that I'm in? It's beautiful. I'm sure you can see the beauty of the heather and the trees, and how weathered they are. But I'm really struggling to find an image. But let's try to capture the atmosphere of this place in video and images. So I'm going to put myself to work now and see if I can come up with an image that I'm happy to take away from this place this morning. And then we'll venture onto the hills, and hopefully the mist will clear then later on this morning, and a little bit of light will cut through that mist before the day dissipates into that hazy, horrible, bright sunshine. Now, my first composition of this morning And I've just found a gathering of heather. Has a nice shape to it. I've raised the camera up, and that's why I'm kneeling down in homage to the heather. But there is a shape, so there's a structure to the heather. And the deer tracks, which I've used to get over to this very wet and soggy place. That's a tip. If you're in a raised bog or a bog of any kind and you come across tracks, follow the tracks. Regardless of where you really want to go, they lead you there. They crisscross across the bog. And I think what separates the heather here apart from the bog, the real bog to the right here, little clump of heather on the far right, is a nice shape in itself, divided by the deer track in the foreground and behind me. So I focus stacked this 4 or 5 stacks at f9 or so. And that's it. So we'll take this home and I'll process it and we'll put it up. You might sense in my voice I'm not overexcited about it, but I am as well, because it's a strange dilemma. You come to a place and you see the beauty and the colour in your eye here, but just trying to capture that in a photograph. Sure, isn't that the challenge that we all face as photographers? Wow, look at this. I've never been in this bog before. I was actually driving this morning to the uplands, to the Sally Gap. And I've passed by this area and I know there's a raised bog in here. I did not know there was a wood as old and gnarled and beautiful as what we see below us here with the heather. Look at this. Beautiful clumps of heather. So we're staying with the theme of the vlog today, and I'm delighted about that. Oh, some beautiful fungi here as well. Wow, this is a place I'm going to come back to. But the shape of the tree and the way it weaves around the heather here makes it an abstract image. And I'm delighted I've come across this scene, because getting here is not easy. Well, there really is value to be had from returning to a scene. And I'll have played the clip from yesterday when this scene was backlit and the light was hazy and the grasses were quite reflective, compared to this morning when the colours will be more saturated, more true to themselves, and the light even with that big softbox in the sky. Revisiting has also allowed me to consider how I compose the image, and this time I've taken a step back, about 10 yards back actually, and have gone into about 100 mil, 120 mil, where yesterday I was much closer to the tree. And it removes the chaos in the background, focusing at f9, taking one focus point here to get the grasses in front of the scene, and then 1 or 2 more for the breadth of the trees here and the branches. So I'm really happy with the way this image is turning out, and I'm glad I've returned here to the bog, because I questioned whether to come back here this morning. But what we'll do is we'll process this image. We'll process the image from yesterday with the hazy light. We'll put the two of them up and compare. I know already I'll prefer the light this morning. I'm not sure whether I'm in shot. I'm hunkered down as I've lowered the camera down on the tripod to capture this very simple scene. A riot of colour in the foreground of this image. It's a simple image. I've placed the trees carefully in the background, excluded the sky, and shot a few focus stacks. It really is worthy of prolonging my stay here in the bog. I'm keeping an eye on the mountains behind the camera here, and I can see a little bit of light touching the lower hills, and that's what I want to capture, to get to the Sally Gap and to capture some light cutting through the mist. So I'm going to put this image up now. But the richness of it, again, I'm just highlighting the richness of the colours here this morning as opposed to yesterday morning with the hazy sunlight. So we'll take this image and we'll move on up the hills. Well, what a beautiful scene behind me. Probably the most iconic scene in all of Wicklow, bar Glendalough. This is the view over Guinness Lake and Luggalaw. Absolutely wonderful, but that's not what we're after today. It's hazy, so I'm gonna have to get that polarizer out to cut through that haze and capture some of the colour that I see in the distance here, the heather and some gorse. So it won't be the picture postcard views of Wicklow that I will be shooting today. It will be abstracts, simple images showing the rounded tops and the layers of the landscape here in the Sally Gap, and hopefully that landscape illuminated in colour in the pinks and purples of heather and the other heathland plants. Well, at Luggalaw I mentioned abstract images, and this isn't really an abstract image because I've picked a specific subject. Two old posts. I've left this one protrude slightly into the sky, and we have the distant mountain here adding a little balance to the frame. But the heather all around is just wonderful, and as I walked from where the camera is now to where I am, the dust is just coming off. I'm not sure whether you can see it. That's just magic here. And I like this image. It's so simple. There's only 3 objects in it, 1, 2 and the mountain behind. Initially I had the camera a little closer, and then I moved back just to compress the scene to give the mountain a little bit more prominence in the scene. It's quite hazy, but actually I think it adds to the scene rather than detracts from it. And I'm going to prove that by not using a polarizer, and then I'll put the polarizer on and see which I prefer. But I love that hazy look in the background. It adds distance rather than clarity. So I went in search of those abstract compositions, and I had a place in mind, but I was driving into the sun, and the direction of the image was into the sun, and the landscape and the heather were very pale and washed out. So I've retreated, I've come back, the sun is at my back, and I'm looking for compositions in this direction, away from the sun, and I found one. It's a composition I've never even thought of stopping at this place. I'm literally beside the road. Beautiful bank of heather, and I'm trying to fit the heather as foreground into this image. I'm with a grouping of trees and a hollow that's well photographed, and I've photographed these trees. I've photographed them in fog, I've photographed them at sunset. And it's unusual to see trees in such a bleak and open heathland. I hear a raven calling above my head. I'm shooting at about 170mm f10 and focus stacking as well, because when you're dealing with a longer focal length, it's really important to stack the foreground particularly, or you might get just one clump of it out of focus. So I've taken 2 or 3 images at f10, and that should ensure that the header's in focus, and the header is a prominent foreground here, being the theme of this vlog. So I'm going to take this shot. I have the polarizer on just to remove that haze and to give a little bit of clarity to the shot. And we'll move on to the next location. Well, my adventures on the bog were put to an abrupt end when my right foot entered a large bog hole, and I tumbled to the ground and tore my calf muscle. So off to the hospital I did go, and I sit here in my studio with a medical boot on and possibly a few weeks of rest and recuperation. I hope you've enjoyed the vlog today, and please do subscribe and like and click that notification bell. So until then, thanks very much for watching.